Welcome back to the deep dive. Last time, if you remember, we were deep down in the fifth Bolgia.
Right, that eighth circle. With the Barrators, the corrupt officials.
Exactly, boiling away in that sticky pitch. It was quite the image, wasn't it? Symbolizing their, hidden deals and the kind of chaotic justice from those demons.
That whole scene, the concealment and the messy consequences,
Yeah.
it really sets us up for today. Because Dante and Virgil weren't exactly popular down there.
Which, yeah, brings us right into today's deep dive. We're jumping into Canto 23 of the Inferno, and things start off pretty fast.
They have to. They're fleeing those Malebranche demons we met.
They are. Making a quick getaway.
A very necessary getaway, I'd say. Those demons, they seem pretty keen on keeping them around.
Definitely. But luckily for Dante and Virgil, it seems those demons couldn't actually leave their assigned spot, their specific Bolgia.
Jurisdiction limits even in hell.
Right. So our poets managed this clever escape. They basically slide down into the next level.
Down into the sixth Bolgia. A bit of a rough landing, maybe, but effective.
You could say that. A resourceful move. And it's here, in the sixth Bolgia, that we meet a whole new group of sinners.
The hypocrites.
The hypocrites.
Yeah.
And their punishment is, wow, it's unforgettable. Just imagine this. Loads of people just shuffling along incredibly slowly. And they're all wearing these amazing cloaks. On the outside, they look incredible. Gilded, shiny, beautiful.
Oh, there's always a but in the Inferno, isn't there?
Always. That glittering outside hides something much harsher.
Yes, because these gorgeous-looking cloaks, they're lined with lead. Incredibly heavy lead.
An unbearable weight hidden by that shiny surface.
Precisely. The perfect image of hypocrisy.
Exactly. And that's really what we want to dig into in this deep dive. We want to unpack Canto 23, look at these really powerful images and situations.
Let's see what they might teach us.
How do we handle obstacles? How important is it to be authentic versus, well, putting on a show?
Well, it's fascinating because while Dante's framing is obviously theological about sin and punishment, the themes here, deception, burdens, appearances, they're universal human experiences, aren't they?
Absolutely. So let's think about that escape first. Getting away from the demons, it wasn't exactly a calm exit.
Not at all. It was quite frantic, sliding down the bank.
But what strikes me is how fast they had to adapt. 1 minute, angry demons, the next, they're finding a totally new way down.
That's a great point. It speaks to that need for adaptation, doesn't it? In life, things go wrong. Paths get blocked.
Like the bridge later in the canto. They find out it's collapsed.
Exactly. And they don't just, sit down and give up. They have to figure out another way, climb the wall.
So it's a lesson, maybe, about resilience, about finding Plan B when Plan A falls apart.
I think so. It's a really strong reminder that being able to pivot, to find a new approach, that's, well, essential for navigating life's challenges. You can't always stick to the original map.
True. Okay, now let's get back to those cloaks. Gilded outside, lit inside. It's such a visually arresting image.
It really is. That contrast is so immediate.
So what do you make of that symbolism? What does it really say?
Well, the obvious thing is the gap between appearance and reality. That shiny gold suggests value, maybe piety, goodness.
Right, what you want people to see.
Exactly. But the hidden lead, that's the crushing weight of the lie, the burden of being insincere, of maintaining that facade. It's pure contrapasso.
Yes, the punishment fitting the sin.
Perfectly. The weight they imposed on others through their deception now becomes their own physical eternal burden.
It reminds me a bit of the misers and spendthrifts back in Canto 7.
Yes, good connection. They were also weighed down, weren't they? Burdened by those heavy weights mirroring their earthly obsession with either hoarding or wasting wealth.
So the hypocrites carry the weight of their own deceit.
Precisely. And it makes you think, doesn't it, about how relevant that is today.
How so?
Well, think about our world now. Social media, public image. There's so much pressure to present this perfect, gilded version of ourselves.
Right, curated feeds, careful branding.
Yeah. And maybe sometimes we neglect the leaden truth underneath. Our real feelings, our genuine struggles, maybe even our less than perfect motives.
That's a sobering thought. This canto is like a warning, then.
I think it absolutely is. For looking at others, but maybe even more importantly, for looking at ourselves. What's the real weight we're carrying beneath the surface?
And then there's the slowness. They move so painfully, slowly.
Yes, that agonizing pace. It's not just the weight, it's the slowness.
What's the meaning there, do you think?
Well, living a lie takes effort, right? constant effort to maintain the deception. It gums up the works. It creates this internal drag.
So hypocrisy literally slows you down, prevents progress.
That's how I read it. It's a metaphor for how insincerity hinders you, weighs down your soul, stops you from moving forward freely. Think about how agile Dante and Virgil had to be to escape the demons.
Interesting contrast. Sincerity allows for quick, decisive action,
While hypocrisy makes you sluggish, burdened. It suggests that authenticity, being true to yourself, actually leads to a freer, more dynamic life.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so Dante points out two specific friars here, Catalano and Loderingo.
Yes, from Bologna. They were part of an order called the Jovial Friars.
Jovial friars. Sounds pleasant.
Ironically, yes. Their order was actually founded with the aim of promoting peace. And these two, they even served as podesta in Florence, basically, the chief magistrates, meant to be impartial governors.
Okay, so high-ranking figures, spiritual and civic leaders.
Correct. But Dante accuses them of hypocrisy because instead of keeping the peace impartially, they apparently favored one political faction, the Guelphs.
Ah, so they preached peace but acted differently, betraying their role.
Exactly, which
Yeah.
highlights a particularly corrosive kind of hypocrisy when those in power, especially those claiming moral or spiritual authority, don't practice what they preach.
That definitely adds another layer, the responsibility that comes with leadership.
Huge responsibility. And then there's Caiaphas.
Right. His punishment is unique, even among the hypocrites.
It is. Caiaphas, the high priest in the Gospels, who argued it was better for Jesus to die than for the whole nation to perish.
The one who basically sealed Christ's fate.
Yes, he's not just wearing a leaden cloak, he's crucified, pinned to the very ground of this bull shaft.
Wow.
And all the other hypocrites, in their slow, heavy procession, walk right over him. They trample him eternally.
That's incredibly harsh. Why such a specific, brutal punishment for him?
I think for Dante, Caiaphas represented the absolute peak of hypocrisy, especially religious hypocrisy. His advice wasn't just, a personal failing. It had world-altering consequences, the crucifixion.
So his sin was seen as far more grave.
Immensely grave. Having everyone trample him, it emphasizes the crushing weight, not just of his hypocrisy, but of all hypocrisy, and its ultimate destructive power when it comes from a place of sacred trust. It's a dark parallel to the Passion of Christ itself.
A really powerful, disturbing image. Okay, let's loop back to those jovial friars for a second. Meant to bring peace, but fostered division instead.
Right.
What does that tell us, maybe, about community, about how we interact?
Well, it speaks volumes about trust, doesn't it? When actions don't match words, especially from leaders or institutions, it just shatters trust. Their hypocrisy didn't just affect them, it actively harmed the community of Florence, deepening divisions. It shows how insincerity, that gap between values and actions, can really poison the well, undermine the connections between people. That's a recurring theme for Dante, this concern for civic harmony.
It feels like a timeless issue. That disconnect between what we say we value and what we actually do,
Yeah.
it can really damage things. No, just quickly, there's a little literary nod at the start you mentioned. The Frog and the Mouse.
Ah, yes. Right near the beginning, Canto 23 opens with this simile comparing Dante's thoughts to Aesop's fable of the frog and the mouse.
Where the frog offers the mouse a ride across water but intends to drown it.
That's the one. It seems a bit almost simplistic.
So why put it there? Any thoughts?
Maybe a couple of reasons. It could be a quick comment on deceptive appearances again, even in simple stories. Or perhaps it's just Dante showing off his learning, referencing classical sources like Aesop, similar to how he acknowledged the great poets back in Canto 4.
Yeah.
It shows his range.
Interesting. Okay, so as we kind of wrap up this look at Canto 23, what are the main takeaways for us or our listeners thinking about their own journey?
Well, first, definitely that reminder about appearances being deceptive. Look deeper. Second, the sheer burden of living inauthentically, that leaden weight slows you down.
Right.
Third, the special responsibility of those in power and the damage hypocrisy causes there. Fourth, maybe that need for adaptability, like Dante and Virgil escaping.
Finding new paths when things collapse.
Exactly. And finally, just how much insincerity can damage trust and community.
Those are some heavy but valuable insights. And maybe a final thought for everyone listening. As you go about your own journey, your own life, think about the weight of your choices. Are your outward actions, that gilded surface, reflecting your inner values? Or could there be a hidden leaden burden in some of the opportunities or roles you take on?
That's definitely something worth pondering.
It is. Well, this has been our 23rd deep dive. It's been great exploring this canto with you.
Likewise, always fascinating.
So thank you all for joining us once again. Until our next exploration.